Hey everybody, welcome to Find Your Fit with Deanna. I'm Deanna. And one of the things that we know is really important in our overall health, wellness, and fitness is to make sure that we're doing mobility training, right? Now, you might wonder what the difference is between mobility training and flexibility training. So, quickly defined, flexibility is an unloaded muscle, a muscle that's really relaxed, and is it, excuse me, able to lengthen and to have a full range of motion or ability of movement around a joint. That's what we're talking about flexibility. Mobility, a little bit different, excuse me, in the way we're talking about being able to, yes, move through these different motions, but while the muscle is active, while we've got a little bit of load, there's some control required. So all that is to say, mobility and flexibility are important, but mobility I want to touch on today because some of the mobility training that I've seen, that I have used in certain situations, but some of them you might feel, gosh, I have to be really mobile to actually be able to do that mobility training. So you might know something for a hip flexor mobilizer. So muscle that, well, it originates at the back and comes forward, but muscle that sort of acts at the front of the hip, right? And folks are doing this type of work when they're coming back. We might get some hamstring mobility, ankle, big toe, right? We might sit right down. And so this is a great mobility drill or exercise, but the challenge can be, and have you ever felt this, that you think, okay, if I could do that, I wouldn't necessarily feel like I had a challenge with my mobility. I can't maybe get down to the ground. I can't kneel, even with, a cushion or a mat. And it's really difficult. It feels a little bit disheartening when I think, yeah, I know, you keep telling me I need to add more mobility, but I can't get here. So I want you just to think about, in this instance, for this exercise, for example, how do we regress that? Regression is not a bad word. It just is to take it back a little bit from what you're doing, to find the right fit of the movement, the exercise with what you need in particular. So a couple of things to think about, right? If think about, like, what's the problem? Meaning, is it getting down? Is it that kneeling hurts? Is it that you can't get to this point because that front ankle doesn't move? You want to identify what the issue is, because then we can attack that issue. So I know for a lot of folks, kneeling is uncomfortable and getting down in that position is uncomfortable. So you know what? Take that same movement idea, that sort of shift forward, shift back, and let's just stand up. So let's start here. Let's take it from the beginning. Go 1 foot ahead of the other. Your posture is great and tall. I know that it is. And then I just want you to start to shift. Now, for now, leave that back heel glued to the floor. And I want you to start to shift forward and back. And we go, hey, how's that? Right? Right? That's okay. That's not challenging. If that's the case, then let's take a bigger step. And let's take this back foot, come up in the ball of the foot and the toes. Give your seat a little squeeze, push the hip forward a little bit. So that was a really small movement. I'm going to show you again. We're stepped back, and then I want to just squeeze my seat, push my hip forward. Got it? Now I'm going to come forward. I'm going to hold that, what we might call a pelvic tilt. I'm going to come forward and back in this movement. And how does that feel? Right? It is finding where your body gives you permission, right? Where we don't want to attach the feeling of pain and discomfort to our movement practice. Otherwise, it's no wonder that our body doesn't want to move more, because when we've done it, it hurts, it's uncomfortable. So we want to find the right fit. Yes, that is why I call this podcast Find Your Fit, because it isn't you, it's the movement, it's the workout we've got to adapt. So if you're good there, what's next? Well, let's take it a little bit longer, right? Lift, tuck, forward. Then we actually might choose to bring ourselves back. That's where we get that hamstring movement, right? Forward and back. So you see what we've done? We've just taken it back kind of to the beginning and said, is this right? Yeah, it is. Great. Let's make it a little bit wider. The pelvis needs to tuck under, push forward, rock back. Is that right? Yes, it is. Then we can go a little bit wider. And that's when you might consider, if you're in that really kind of long wide stance, that's feeling pretty good, then you may say, hey, how can I start to transition to the ground? I have a ball up there that has a mind of its own and pops down sometimes mid-video or mid-class. So one of the tools, which is something that I love because it is super handy and actually pretty inexpensive, is a yoga block. Find these anywhere. So this is a kneeler, which is a pad that's a little bit more dense, gives you a bit more cushion, but honestly, fold up your yoga mat, use a pillow, anything, doesn't have to be fancy. So you're in your position coming down to the ground. If you're kneeling, right? If this is an okay position, if not, do it standing. But if you have the ability to kneel, then we're here. Now, you know, the first thing we want to do is come forward. And we might say, gosh, I don't feel very supported. That's what the yoga block is for. Then let yourself, you know, use your hand, whether it's flat, you know, and there's a modification. I have a wrist that doesn't like that position, so I modify, go to this position, right? Come back and then in. And then you can start to grow that. Maybe the block goes a little bit lower. Maybe the block goes lower still. Maybe you don't need the block, right? So I just want you to think about, if you're looking, first of all, if you think, goodness, I don't know how to modify, ask your fitness professional. That is their job. It is one of the skills that they should have or should be working on or should be able to research if they don't know the answer right off the bat and help you modify to really find your fit to give you the opportunity to progress. Okay, cheering you on. As always, send me an email, Deanna@deannalangfordcoaching.com. If you've got questions, things you'd like to learn about, I'd be happy to put some things together for you. Cheering you on. See you soon.